Welcome to Barrier Breakers, a podcast celebrating resilience and triumph over adversities. Expect raw, honest conversations filled with practical advice and life lessons. Now on to today's episode. Welcome back to episode 16 of Barrier Breakers.
She's got that Angela Lansbury intro. Welcome back.
You
It's
know
like
what
you're
it
reading
was.
a children's book.
I grew up watching soap operas with my grandmother, so I
Like
always...
sands from the hourglass.
Yes.
So are the days of our lives.
The young and the restless.
Yes.
Today, Gentry and I are very honored to have with us another local barrier breaker, a good friend of mine. Welcome, Miss Lea Bradley.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
Lea, you listen to the show, so you
do.
already know the ropes. I can tell you're kind of nervous. It's
A little
okay.
bit,
It's
yeah.
okay. And just like all of our other guests, Gentry here doesn't know your full...
Anything.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know your name. I know. I learned your last name about 68 seconds ago.
Oh,
But,
cool. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I get the privilege of knowing you a little bit more. We've been
Yes.
friends for some time now.
Yeah.
And of course, we follow each other on social media. So
Yeah.
I know a little bit about your story,
Mhm.
just enough to know that it's one that I'm sure will help to positively impact a lot of other people.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a good one. It's a good one. So just take us back. Tell us
To
about
the
little Lea.
beginning,
Yeah,
yes.
she knows. She knows. Tell us about little Lea.
Yes. So I am from a town called Frederick, Maryland. It's right outside of the DC area. I was born and raised there, the oldest of four, which probably explains a lot about what you know about me.
Same.
I always had my little ducks in a row, and I always was like another little mother. You know, we were born almost exactly 16 months apart. So
Oh, wow.
4 kids in 5 years.
Bless your mother.
Yeah. Yep. Which was amazing though growing up because I always had friends. And again, I think it was just a big part of who I am started then. So I came to Tennessee for college. I was super active in theater and choir and the dance team and all the things. And so we came and did a tour. Oh, goodness. I guess it was probably my sophomore year of high school. We did a choir competition, and I got to see UT, and I said I was going to live in Knoxville. And then 2 years later, the guy that I was dating at the time decided to come to Knoxville, and I was like, well, I guess this is destiny. I'm going to come to Knoxville, too. And, of course, that relationship was long over.
Yeah.
And here I am. So I have been here for 21 years now.
Wow.
So, yeah. I had a really great childhood, though. Had the best parents, still do, and was thankful that I was able to see what a marriage looks like.
Mhm.
Not always easy, but always worth it.
Sure.
And yeah, so that's kind of baby me up to getting here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is where you met your current husband.
Yes, we met actually on an ultimate Frisbee field. Which, by the way, I did not play. I was just there to
Okay.
enjoy the sunshine.
But that
and
was the ultimate Frisbee.
I know, right?
Yeah, the Frisbee that changed it all. Yeah, so that was fun. We mostly just group dated for a long time. And then finally I was like, do you want my number?
I can see you doing that. Yeah.
And he was like, yes. So then 3 months later we were engaged, and then
3 months. Okay, I did not know this.
Mhm.
Tell us about that courtship. Like, how long was the
Again,
group dating?
So that was probably about 6-ish months, 5 months.
Okay.
Y'all remember the show 24?
Mm-hmm.
We would get you remember. Okay.
No.
It was very good. Anyway, we would get together as a big group from church, and we would all watch that, and I would bake different things because I love to bake. It's kind of it calms me. And so of course I would try to put my best stuff, for him
Sure.
and it worked, I guess. And so,
How do you
and
feel
poor
about
thing, I don't even know the last thing I baked him now, but that's okay. But yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then, so that was maybe like January. And then May is when I said, do you want my number? We had our first date to see Wolverine in the movie theater.
All right.
Oh, love. Yeah.
Dating myself a little bit, but that's how it all went. So, and then by the time that we were really like dating, I don't know. I think if people hear the thing, like when you know, and you're just like, eye roll until you know.
Yeah.
And then there was just no more hesitation. Like I didn't have, we knew. So
I feel you on that one.
we were looking for rings like in like July, and I got engaged in September. So I guess that's 4 months.
Yeah, we dated for 33 days, so I get it.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. So there you go. It's important to note that my parents also had a very small courtship before they were engaged. So I was like, apple doesn't far to fall from the tree, you know? Yeah. So anyway, but yeah. And we got married in June of 2010. So it'll be 14 years this June.
That is awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, how has things been? You guys have been married, I think, longer than you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's marriage life been? You okay if I say his name?
Scott.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
He who shall not be named that I love.
The first year was really interesting because his grandparents had some very severe medical stuff going on. Like we actually thought that we said goodbye to his grandmother at our wedding.
Wow.
Like truly we thought that was going to be the end. It wasn't the end, but that's what we thought. It was but then very soon later she passed. And then that December, my mom's breast cancer came back. So she had breast cancer in 2017 for the first time. And then it came back in 2010. And so that was really hard because she was going to have the full mastectomy. My husband lost his job during that first year. He also, before he lost his job, he witnessed his boss have an aneurysm and die right in front of his eyeballs. So there was no sleep. It was so our first year was really weird, not because we were married, but just because life was so hard.
Yeah.
It was just so hard. So, it got better. Mm-hmm. It did. And we got to travel and do all the fun things that we, wanted to do that first year. It was just so hard to do. And then it was time to start thinking about a family, which we knew that's what we wanted. And so I was diagnosed with PCOS many years ago. And so my doctor always said, like, whenever you're ready, come talk to me because it just might be a challenge. So went and talked to the doctor. We started the process and nothing was happening. So go back to the doctor and there's a plan for surgery to just check things out, see what's going on with me. Often if you have PCOS, you can also have endometriosis. Yeah. And if you have endometriosis, that can also add to the complications of getting pregnant. So they did an exploratory surgery. There was no endometriosis. But they cleared out, everything, and we kindly say that they irrigated my ovaries. What that means is that the eggs are in little pearls all the way around my ovaries, so they kind of popped them, disrupted them, so that they were able to release when time. Yeah. Okay. So we were like, yeah, this is gonna happen, and it didn't happen. Yeah. And so then at that point, the doctor decided that my husband also needed to be evaluated. And so then we learned that it was going to be complicated due to what was going on in my husband's body too. So we were like, oh no. So immediately they send us to a fertility doctor. Yeah. And so we weren't I don't think I was surprised that this was our journey, but I was surprised that it was not entirely my fault. Because, and I'm saying that because that's truly the way that it felt at the time. I'm sure. Yeah, truly the way it felt at the time, that this was all on me and my body's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay. So we start the infertility process, or the fertility process, I should say, and it's really, really something. Anybody here who is listening or watching this and you've been through it, it's really hard to even come up with the words of that process because there's so much hope, but there's also so much fear, and it's so much money. Yeah. And it's also just really kind of awkward. You're doing things that like you just wouldn't normally, so it's like, okay, we're going to put you on this medicine and you need to be intimate every day. And you're like, great. You mean, it sounds like people are going to like roll their eyes and be like, well, that doesn't sound terrible. Trust me, when you have to, it changes that whole part of your marriage. Yeah. And then, there's specimens that have to be brought in, and I had to like put it in certain. Yeah. It's very weird. It's just a very weird process. And so we did that for about a year. We were finally ready to do the actual IVF. And we were very successful, got lots of eggs. And so what they do is they retrieve your eggs, which is like you go under for that procedure. Mm-hmm. And then they like watch them and see like who are the healthiest ones and who are okay, I don't really know what they're looking for, to be completely honest, but they decide which ones are good and which ones maybe aren't going to be as viable. Yeah. And then they're ready for my husband's part. Yeah. And and then this is so awkward. Sorry, people. Sorry. And then they let them grow. They let them grow for a couple of days. And so we had 2 embryos that were beautiful. Mm-hmm. And we put both of them in. And it was like the coolest moment. You're awake for this part. So you're in there and they have a screen and you can see, the tool. And then the only way I know how to describe it is it looks like a flash of light. Like it's like just a little flash of light. And the doctor says, congratulations, you're pregnant. And I had twins growing at that moment. Mm-hmm. At that point, I was about 4 weeks gestationally is what they say you're about at that point. So I had every symptom. I was dreaming of pickles, literally dreaming of pickles. Had some physical stuff going on. My husband we were shopping for a car at the time, and my husband was, telling everybody that, I was pregnant. It was so fun. It was so good. And then I woke up one morning and I didn't want pickles, and all the physical stuff was gone. And I knew what that meant, but I refused to believe it because they tell you, don't take an at-home pregnancy test. Mm-hmm. You have so many crazy hormones going on in your body right now. Like, don't do it. Okay. So I'm like, all right, well, I won't do it. But I pretty much knew. So we go and you have blood work, and then they call you back and they tell you the news. And so I was with my hairdresser, believe it or not, when they called and told me that my levels were not supporting pregnancy. And so that was a really, really, really dark time because we knew we were only going to do this one time. Mm-hmm. My mom's breast cancer was estrogen positive, and so I did not want to be putting any more hormones into my body than was necessary. Sure. So we knew that this was a one and done. We got the 2 embryos. We used the 2 embryos. Like we knew we were done. So for me, I was mourning the life that was because they were there. They were there and they were alive. Mm-hmm. And then they weren't. And it had something to do with my body. My body, for whatever reason, wasn't hospitable to them. And that was devastating for a woman. But also I knew that this was probably the end of me being pregnant. Like the chance of this happening, the doctors tell us that it's less than 1%. Oh, wow. Ever in our lives that it will happen. So it was a huge mourning period. Probably the first time that I truly, truly felt true depression. Mm-hmm.
And how long were you carrying them?
So I made it 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So they were about 6 weeks. Yeah. So, and everyone's like, first of all, anybody who loses a pregnancy, it doesn't matter if it's 6 weeks, 12 weeks. Like
it doesn't matter.
It breaks your heart no matter what. Yeah. From the outside looking in, people who haven't gone through it, maybe they're like, well, I mean, if she didn't go through IVF, she wouldn't even know she was pregnant. That's probably true.
No, I knew at like 3 or 4 weeks that I was pregnant.
Okay. So anyway, it could be true, I guess I should say. But regardless, it was mourning in so many different levels. I'm sure. And it was so hard. So we didn't talk about what was going to happen in our family. Mm-hmm. Like we were done. I couldn't talk about it. I didn't want to think about it. I just couldn't.
Sure.
I just couldn't do it. And then we were on vacation, which I guess checks. We're on vacation. We're looking at the ocean. My husband looks over at me and he says, "We're going to adopt, aren't we?" And I was like, "Yep." yep, we are. So it was just this moment. It was literally one conversation. And then we got back from vacation and hit the ground running towards the adoption route. So I had probably it was February 6th was when I lost the babies. And then it was like early June-ish, end of May, early June when we decided to move forward. So then we were preparing our hearts and our homes for what I believed in my heart, and people are going to be like, how did you? But I believed that I was going to have a son, and I believed that he already existed. Yeah. And I didn't know if that meant that he was already born or if he was gestationally. I didn't know what that meant,
for sure.
But I was certain it had to come from God above, because I don't know where else you come up with something like that. So we started preparing, and that was so that we'll say June of 2017.
Okay.
The son that I now have was created in May of 2017. So we learned about Peyton. Let me back up. So we the way that you do a private adoption, if you're not going through the foster care system, is you work with an agency. So you pick your agency. We interviewed agencies and did all that. Okay. And so we picked our agency, and we were so excited because we're like, this is going to happen. And that we had to do our home study, and we had to get pictures and make a book and like do all these things. And we were just so excited. Okay. And we're preparing our home. People are giving us stuff. We've got the room, it's the room. And so we were doing all of those things and getting ready. We were on a wait list to become active with our agency. Our agency at the time had only allowed 40 families to be active at a time, which we loved, because some other agencies there can be thousands and thousands of active. Wow, okay. Yeah. So it's hard to kind of know your families and who's the best fit if you've got thousands of them. Okay. So we were really excited about that. It took us till January of 2018 to become active. We were thrilled. We were so thrilled. We turned in our money and we were like, yes, let's go. And then I reach out that was literally on a Friday. We send our check in the mail on a Friday. Okay. Then my friend who I once worked for, who's an attorney in the child
space.
Yeah. Like child and family space.
Law,
yeah.
There it is.
She reached out to me and she was like, hey, let's have lunch. I was like, sure, great. I haven't seen her in a long time. Okay. So of course I've been sharing this whole journey on Facebook because that's what you do. Certainly that's what I do.
It's just what you do.
It's just right.
I love when you share your Lea stories.
I needed prayers, and I needed other people to be rooting for us,
Yeah, for sure.
in in a time that felt so alone. You're not alone, but you feel so unbelievably alone. Yeah. So I just needed people on my side. People are my thing. Yeah. So I just needed it. That's the biggest reason why we shared. So anyway, she knew the whole story. We go to Nama and Bearden, and we get through the whole dang lunch, you guys, the whole dang lunch. And then she says, well, I'm glad you're sitting down because I think I have some news that's going to change your life. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? She was like, there's a baby and he's coming soon. Or no, and the baby's coming soon. And I was like, speechless, right?
Yeah,
because,
sure.
Okay. And so my next question was, is it a boy? because I was so convinced that it was going to be a boy. And she said, yeah, it's a boy. And he's due in a week.
What?
Mm-hmm. And so I'm like shaking all over. It makes me shake even thinking about it now, because it was just such a surreal moment. And so she's giving me kind of the rundown on the family situation and all that. And I'm just like, this is happening, So anyway, so that was on a Monday. On Thursday, I got to go do the ultrasound and hear his little heartbeat, things that I had longed for so much, that I had just mourned. Like I wasn't going to get to experience that. And that's just how that is. Okay. So, got to do that. And then we discover while we're there that there were some issues with his heart, and it was like terrifying. Are we gonna have to go to Nashville and have the baby at Vanderbilt? Are we gonna it was a mess, but it ended up being fine. And I got to spend a lot of time with birth mom. And it was really beautiful. That was a stressful day, but like just what my heart needed in so
Sure.
many different ways.
Is that very typical to have that opportunity to be?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it depends on where you are in the process, but certainly if like a baby is coming in a week, it's typically like a baby's coming in a week.
Yeah.
There's not really, I mean, hopefully by then you've met the birth mom, but probably not gone to a doctor's appointment, probably not done
Yeah.
things like that. So I was so thankful just to be there for her and to see everything with my own eyeballs was really important. And then she was eating a fudgesicle and mopping the floor Friday morning, and her water broke. So back up to Johnson City we go, and 5:19 that night, Peyton was born. We got to be in the room when he was born.
Wow.
She elected to have a C-section, and she went under for her C-section. I guess they allowed that due to the circumstances. She did not want to see him.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got to be in the room. Scott got to cut the cord, like things that just, we thought were never going to happen for us, even by becoming parents via adoption. And we're so excited about that. We still were mourning those things. Like was it probably going to happen for us? But the hospital in Johnson City was amazing. They gave us our own room. Our son is Peyton, and he had a bracelet that had his birth name on it, and he had a bracelet that had Bradley on it. Like they just went above and beyond for us to feel like we were his family.
Sure.
It was really a beautiful thing. So then we're like leaving the hospital with someone else's baby, and we're like, okay, this is so weird. We have like 2 pieces of paper that are signed that are like, take the child, It's just the strangest thing.
So her name wasn't on the birth certificate at all?
No, her name was absolutely on the birth certificate.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So the way that it works when a child is born and placed for adoption, there's an original birth certificate, and that is on file for forever. And then when the adoption is finalized, there's a new birth certificate.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it looks as if, like, if you were to see Peyton's birth certificate, it looks as if I birthed him. It's not like adoptive mother and father. It's just mother and father. Yeah. Thankfully, I have both because he'll be able to have both. And that's really important to us. My mom was adopted. She didn't learn any of her family connections until she was late in life, about the same time that we were starting our adoption process. So it was very important to us that we could have as much information as possible to share with our son. So it was a very, very complicated first year. I'm not going to get into the specifics to protect my son and to protect the birth family. Sure. But it was a very complicated, very stressful. I don't remember most of his first year. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. We block out trauma, don't we?
We do.
So
we
good
do.
at that. Yeah.
We do. So it was a lot, but through only God's grace, we were able to come to an agreement, and Peyton became a Bradley on Valentine's Day of 2019.
Yay!
So just 2 days before his first birthday.
Oh.
And it has not been easy. We open communication with both of the birth parents, and I'm thankful for that.
Sure.
But it's messy. It's not, it's
Yeah.
never the way that things are supposed to be. So it's messy, and but it's his story.
Yeah.
Just as much as it's our story. So it's important to me to have all the information that we can have. He's got half siblings on both sides, and I just want him to have some information whenever he's ready. So
Sure.
yeah, that's kind of the fertility journey. It's been there's been special needs and things that we've had to do for Peyton, and it's been a lot. Like I've had even this week of like I was not prepared for this. No one talks about this stuff. But he's the best part of every day. And has so much of Scott and I in him. Sometimes it's bizarre. I'm like, he does not mind to be the center of attention. He does not, he knows no strangers. Will talk to anybody. It's just
someone I know.
So like people driven. His thing is, are you happy? Are you happy? Like he just wants, okay. But then when he gets mad, I'm like, oh, there's Scott right there. There it is. He's got that short temper, patience that's about that big, you know? So, but in the, like all joking aside, it's beautiful to see that because we're not going to have a child with my eyes. We're not going to have a child with Scott's height, whatever. But we can see those little things that come out that kind of connect us to him. And it's really beautiful. So he is 6 years old. He just turned 6. He'll tell anybody all about it.
Yeah.
Anybody. If you look at him for like more than 3 seconds, he'll just go like this.
Don't play around. I'm 6 years old.
Yeah. And you're like, but yeah, he's the best.
I love it. And he's a beautiful boy. He's so
He
sweet.
is a beauty. I mean, I know everyone thinks that their kids are cute, but mine actually is cute.
Yeah, he is.
Mine actually is.
Actually is.
Just saying. Just saying. No, but yeah, it's parenthood is not for the weak,
No, it's not.
but it's
No.
the best. So
yeah. And does he understand? You said they have open communication. He knows.
he knows their names.
Okay.
And he knows that he had a tummy mommy.
Okay.
And that he grew in his tummy mommy until he was born, and then he was with me. And he was this year he was very into seeing all the pictures of his in the hospital and even pictures of the adoption. He was very curious about all. It's the first year that he was really kind of connecting all the pieces.
Sure.
And then he knows the biological father and the biological father's family. He knows them by name.
Okay.
But like he doesn't refer to them. His kids as like his siblings, or he doesn't refer to them as like dad and mom. He just knows them by their names.
Okay.
And that for now, like that's because it's a little harder to explain a biological father than it is a biological mother. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
to a 6-year-old.
The birds and the bees. Yeah.
Right. So we're just going to go with that for now. But he knows he's adopted. He'll tell you. He'll say, I'm adopted. That means I'm special and chosen and loved. Like he'll do the whole,
Yeah.
because we've been praying that with him since before he could even know what we were saying. We've been praying that over him. So he knows the words. He knows tummy mommy. He knows that he did not grow in me. Like those very, very basic things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And your work now that you do,
With Harmony.
Yes.
Yeah.
do you come across a lot of moms that have been in your shoes?
So Harmony does a lot mostly with the foster care system.
Okay.
So a lot of the mothers that I get the privilege to talk to and to know through Harmony is they're in the foster care. They're adopting through the foster care system or just foster parents, which by the way is not just anything.
Yeah.
I just mean that it's not. There's no adoption at this point, but there are some private. We do help private, like with home studies and things like that, but we're not an agency that will help like place or promote families or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been on the website. I jokingly said it's like when you are a real estate agent and you're pulling up the MLS and you see the houses. So Harmony shows you all the kids that are available in the state of Tennessee.
Yep, that's Parent a Child. That's
Yeah.
the Parent a Child website, and that is children who all parental rights have been terminated, and they are
Oh.
literally just waiting for a family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually the older children, children with special needs, or sibling groups are usually who are on there. Yeah, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it
There's
is.
so many, and it's just the state of Tennessee, and you just think, my goodness, if every state has a website like this, like
Oh.
what?
I had no
It's
idea that
overwhelming.
existed. Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
So you
Yeah.
shared their website, and I was like, this is, it was just too much.
I know.
It was too much.
I know. It's very eye-opening. But there's a lot that you can do for those kids that's not adopting them. You know, there's so many other ways. There's being a foster parent, providing respite to foster parents, helping foster parents, bringing them a meal, whatever, mowing their lawn. Like there's so many things that you can do, because I think people feel very overwhelmed when they learn about all these kids. Like, what can I do? Like, what do I do with this knowledge now that I have it? And it's like, you don't have to solve all the world's problems, but you can make a difference, even in a small way. So anyway, it's been a huge blessing to work for Harmony for so many different reasons. I've had not a very pleasant year, and they have shown me so much grace. And they're a bunch of social workers, but they practice what they preach.
Yeah.
So they have been so kind to me, and have helped me even with some issues we've had with Peyton, and just me personally. I am certain that I'm here with Harmony for a reason. It's very stressful to be a real estate agent and to have another job. That's a lot.
Both of them are full-time jobs.
They sure are. They sure are. So, but we're getting it done. We're getting it done. And it's been a really beautiful thing. But yeah.
Come back next week to catch part 2 with Lea Bradley.